Ya comienza nuestra cita de cada semana. Aquí hablamos de emprendimiento, finanzas, marketing, consejos y todo lo que necesitas para hacer crecer tu negocio. Acompáñanos, ya comienza Mostrando la Garra con Molina.
Hola, soy José Molina aquí en Mostrando la Garra. Hoy tengo el placer aquí de hablar con mi amigo Edgar Paz. Es nuestro nuevo CPA para Estrategias Noroeste. ¿Y por qué estamos hablando con él ahorita? Ya se va a acabar el año y para mí y para muchos dueños de negocios es el tiempo que nos da un poquito de miedo porque ya va a venir la temporada de impuestos. Entonces es bueno tener a un CPA que te ayude a ver tus libros y dar estrategias. Pero hoy mi meta es conocer un poquito a Edgar y cómo un CPA puede ayudar a la comunidad latina y cuáles son las ventajas de tener a alguien así y qué es lo que uno es correcto hacer ahorita al final del año. Entonces, Edgar, muchas gracias por estar aquí conmigo hoy. ¿Cómo va tu día?
Muchas gracias. Bien. Sí, muy bien.
Sí, pues solo hablar un poquito de ti. Yo sé que tu mamá es mexicana y tu papá es guatemalteco, pero creciste en San Diego.
Sí, no, San Diego no, pero en Anaheim, en Southern California.
Sí.
Pero sí, mi mamá es de la Ciudad de México y mi papá es de Guatemala.
¿Y cuánto tiempo viviste en California?
Pues ahí nací, ahí estuve toda mi vida hasta los 25 y hace 2 años me moví a Portland.
Dime un poquito de cómo comenzó todo esto, cómo llegaste a ser un contador, like what made you want to become an accountant?
Yeah, I'll do this in English, this part in English, but yeah. So I have always been really good at math growing up. I think that was like my strongest subject. And then when I got to college, I knew that I wanted to be in business just because I was always interested in selling things and buying things. Whatever I could do for money, that's what I would do growing up. Recycle cans, whatever it is. And then, so I got to college, and I knew I wanted to do business school. And then when I took my first accounting class, I realized that I was pretty good at accounting. So I finished business, and then I went back to school, took a lot of accounting classes, and then led to being a CPA when I found out more about accounting, that was like the highest level of accountant that you could become.
Okay. So you went to high school, and then you went to business school. What did you study your first years of school?
My first 2 years of school, we did everything. We did business law, economics, financial statement analysis, so many different courses. I took some art classes, I took math classes, science classes, all the general ed, but a lot of business focused classes, business speaking, business writing. There's so many different classes that I didn't even know about until I got to college. And
so let's say freshman or sophomore year, right?
Yeah.
Did you already know there, man, I want to become an accountant, or is this something you figured out in the process of going to school?
Yeah, I didn't figure that out until probably my third year. So business was going to be my main focus, just the general everything, economics, every aspect of it. And then in my third year, that's when I really dialed down and said, okay, I can't just be business isn't a job. Okay. So that's when I really had to focus on accounting, because I was like, this is a job, it's an actual career path. I spoke to a lot of people who were CPAs, and I could see myself doing that.
So as a junior, that's when you said, okay, this is something I want to do. I want to become a CPA. But it helped you speak to other accountants, or was it like a counselor in school that helped you prep, or was it family? How did that process work out?
Yeah, nothing really. There's nobody really, people-wise. I think growing up with a lot of like YouTube, and that's where I looked up a lot of things like what is a CPA. So there's a lot of people on YouTube that talked about being a CPA and how it's a great career path, and there's a shortage. So I know that that shouldn't be the reason, like money shouldn't be the reason that you go into a career, but I figured that job security was probably going to be pretty good if I became a CPA. So
you said there was a shortage. Was it a shortage of a CPA or a shortage of people like you and I that are Latinos that speak Spanish and English that were CPAs?
It's actually both. A lot of kids are in college right now, and they're not selecting accounting as their major. And I think part of that just has to do with like how society views accountants. So they're boring, and it's, just like you're on a computer all day, and like there's really no other options other to like either do taxes or be an auditor. But I started hearing a lot of people talking about CPA as like there's unlimited options. You can really do anything. You can start your own business. You can become a tax preparer. You can become More importantly, just a really trusted financial expert. So I think that's what was like, yeah, accountants are supposed to be boring, but it doesn't have to be boring. It can actually be really cool.
Okay. So I know that I was first generation when I graduated college here at PSU. How was paying for school for your first 4 years? Did you have to work? Did your family help you out? Financial aid? How did that look like for you?
Yeah, thankfully both of my older siblings went to college, so they kind of explained to me how it works. My brother went to a large university his first year, realized it was a mistake because it was so expensive, and he used some financial aid. My sister, she learned from that, and she went to junior college and then applied for financial aid there and realized that it was affordable. So that's what I did the first 2 years. I went to a junior college. I basically didn't pay anything for my first 2 years. And the junior college that I went to had a program set up with the University of Redlands. So they're basically giving you a discount for going to their school if you graduate from Fullerton College.
Okay.
So I think I got like a 25% discount on the tuition.
Okay.
So all in all, my last 2 years, I ended up paying maybe like $10,000 to $12,000. But I did work full time the whole time because at the time it was also COVID.
Okay.
So I was working full time, going to school at night.
Okay. So let's say you finish your 4 years, and now what else happened? So you finish your 4 years of college, and now you have your mind made up that you want to become a CPA. Did you go work for a firm that recommended a school, or did you go work underneath somebody? How did that process work out?
Yeah. So I got my bachelor's degree, and then I was able to get a job at a corporation in purchasing, which is not what I wanted to do. But I knew that I could probably work my way into accounting in that corporation. So I decided to go back to school, and this is also junior college that I was taking 1 to 2 classes a semester, which I had never done. I was always taking 4 or 5 classes. But I really, really, really wanted to specialize in accounting, so I was just taking 1 or 2 classes, and I was like, I'm going to make sure I get straight A's in these classes, really pay attention. And I did that for a year and a half, almost 2 years, just taking 1 or 2 classes at a time until I had enough credits to take the CPA exam. And to go back to the job that I got in purchasing, I was there for 2 months, and then an accounting job opened up. I applied, and they transferred me over pretty quickly. So I was happy that it worked out that way, because when I transferred to the accounting department, the CPA that was the controller there, she was just like had almost 30 years of experience, really, really, really great accountant, accounting wise. So I was able to work in that department for almost 3 years while I was studying and taking the exams. So she was a really great mentor for me.
So you mentioned you had to get a bachelor's degree, then you went back to achieve more credits. So that's how many more credits after you finish your 4 years did you have to get so you can test to become a CPA or something like that, right?
Yeah. So I had 120 credits for my bachelor's, and you need 25 accounting credits. You need 10 ethics credits. So I had to take maybe 15 credits of accounting classes and then 2 ethics classes where they basically teach you like ethics, accounting ethics. And then at that point, I'm eligible to take the exam. And then the last 2 to 3 classes, I left it for after the exam. So that once you have 150, you can officially apply for your license. And
how many exams did you have to take? How does that work out?
Yeah. The CPA exam, I remember reading about it, and people were like, it's one of the hardest things that you can do. It has lower pass rates than the bar exam. And I was like, I'm pretty smart. I could probably pass these. But when I took the first one, it was a huge reality check, because you either know the answer to the questions or you don't. It's not like maybe I can guess. It's really, really difficult. And it's a mental test more than anything, because you show up, they do a security check. They use the wand to make sure you don't have anything in your pockets, and they put you in a little room, and you can put headphones on if you want, but it's basically 4 hours straight of multiple choice questions, and then simulations, which is just like really big project questions that they throw a bunch of stuff at you, and you have to figure it out, and you get one 10-minute break. And you need every single minute in those 4 hours.
Okay.
So the exam is a mental exam because you really have no time to like take a breath. It's basically just question after question after question, and there's a timer at the top. So it's like the time is going.
So you
down.
have 4 hours and 10-minute break.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then how many of those tests did you have to sit down with?
I had to take 4 exams. Okay. So I took them in the recommended order. Again, I went back to YouTube as my resource, but I basically took financial accounting first. And this is widely the most difficult one. It has the lowest pass rate. So people were like, get the hard one done first.
Okay.
And then I took audit, which I had no experience with audit, but that exam is more memory than anything. And then I took business concepts, and then I left regulation for last, which is basically the tax exam. And I kind of regret leaving that one until the end because that one was really, really difficult.
Okay.
Taxes is no.
And how long was this process of the 4 tests? How long?
Studying and taking them, it took me all about 9 months.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't pass them all on the first try, but you have to put in at least 80 to 100 hours of studying for each exam. And it's actual studying time, so you're not just open up the book, watch some videos. It's like doing multiple choice questions or doing simulations, and you have to track your time because you really have to hit that 80 hours or else you won't pass. And I learned that because I remember the first test, I did, I think, 67 hours on my study program. I took it and I didn't pass. I got to the 80 hours, I took the exam, and I didn't pass. So I was like, okay, you have to really follow that.
So you have 9 months, almost a year. Then you have 4 exams, which each exam is 4 hours. I also was reading that you have to work underneath somebody else so you can become a CPA or so they can sign off on you. How does that work?
So in California, each state is a little bit different, but in California you need 1 year of general accounting experience to officially get your CPA license. So I worked under that CPA for 3 years, so I had more than enough experience with her. And then she is the one that had to sign off on my my experience form that I submitted to the Board of Accountancy in California.
So you mentioned that you've been in Oregon for 2 years. What made the move from California to Oregon?
Yeah, my girlfriend got into a master's program at Portland State University. So that was a big reason for the move. I was ready to get out of California and experience a different state, but that was the main reason. She's doing her master's program, and she's going to be done actually next spring.
And when you came to Oregon, where did you work at? What did you do?
I was able to get a job at a trust company where we did trust administration and wealth management. I did tax prep, I did financial planning, I did general administration for trust, so that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So now you've a CPA here fully loaded in Oregon, and you worked there for what, 2 years? A year and a half, 2 years?
I worked there for about a year and a half, and I did get my Oregon CPA license. You just have to submit a form, pay a fee, and they'll transfer it over.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And with that license, you can do taxes here in Oregon and any state, or is it like, how does that work?
Yeah, they basically allow you to do taxes in any state and federal taxes, of course. You just can't. If you're going to move to, like, for example, if I wanted to open a CPA firm in Texas, I'd have to be a Texas CPA.
Okay.
I can't just open a firm there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, I don't know much about taxes, but I know that there's different people that can do taxes. There's like a tax preparer. I think it's called an LTC. I'm not sure. Then you have to become like an enrolled agent. Can you explain to me the different steps and what each one of them does?
Yeah.
If you know.
I'm not super familiar with the LTC designations. I know those are specific to Oregon, but the EA, that is a federal license that the IRS gives out. You do have to take some exams. I think it's 3 exams to get that license.
Okay.
But basically, it allows you to do tax prep for federal returns. You can do state returns. State returns is more state specific. But yeah, it's a legit license that you can get to do tax prep, or you could be a CPA, or you could be an attorney. Those are the three main people that can do tax prep.
Nice. So I've seen the numbers now that a lot of more Latinos are graduating from high school and college now. What would you advise those young Latinos or young men or young women that would like to become accountants? What kind of, like what you know now to compare to what you used to know, what kind of advice would you give them to come to this world?
Yeah, I think the CPA world, or even accounting in general, needs more people. The numbers as far as like who's a CPA for the the demographics for CPAs is like less than 5% Hispanic.
Okay.
And I think that's where we need to bring more people in, because it's your point of view and it's your experience and it's your dedication to certain people that what brings a lot of experience to the profession. So I think that's what's missing.
Okay.
And my advice would be it's really good. It's a really great career move, because it challenges you every day, and if you like math, it's really intense. But there's a lot of great software out there that helps you do the hard calculations now. But yeah, I really enjoy it.
Nice. So I'm gonna be a little selfish now. Te voy a comenzar mi historia. Hace meses comencé a trabajar con equipos de México y encontré a una muchacha que se llama Samantha y le dije, mira, te voy a dar mi meta que quiero. Este es mi unicornio, dije. Me encantaría encontrar un CPA en Oregón, pero que hable inglés y español. Y le dije, esa es mi prioridad número 1, número 2, número 3 de todas las empresas que tenemos nosotros. Y entrevistamos como a unas 15, 20 personas. Pero había otro que hablaba inglés y español. Pero cuando hablé contigo, fue como algo cambió ahí para mí. Yo sé que tú estabas trabajando en like Oswego, and like, what made you start looking for a new job? What made you want to move? What made you want to get something new?
Yeah, I think I was very comfortable in the last job that I was in, but I think with everything that was going on with ICE, it just made me feel like what can I do, realistically? And I think the skills that I've learned over the last few years in school and work, I wanted to be able to move forward the Latino community and growing their businesses. So I think that was the biggest thing. I'm like, what could I do? And this seems like an opportunity where I can use my skills to help people grow their businesses. So I think that was probably the biggest thing that made me decide to leave. But ultimately, I think it was the right choice. It felt like the right choice, and I was happy to do it because that's what I wanted to do. I mean, my dad ran a construction business his entire life. He still does it now. And I imagine with the right accounting and the right financial professionals, he could have grown it into a really big business. It's just been him for now, but I feel like that's kind of where I think about now.
Okay. So to me, I remember I've had the bookkeeping payroll business for a few years now, and I don't know that much about taxes, but it's been a really pleasure to work with you for the last couple of weeks, last month or so, because you've taught me a lot. And I know as a business owner, one of my goals is how do I do things correctly, which I haven't done correctly all my career because it's a trial. We call it scientific management. We try something and then we mess up, so we try something else. But I was told so many different things on what we can do and what we can't do. And now I start seeing with you, and even today in a little class that we had here outside, that a lot of things that I have done are incorrectly. What are some of the things that you notice, not just Latino business owners, in general business owners, that we tend to do incorrectly? Like why if I hired a bookkeeper, somebody that just passed their QuickBooks certification, let's say, what are some common mistakes that you see there, or what are some common mistakes that you see in business owners?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they start businesses, the first thing they do is obviously try to make money, try to get clients, do whatever you can to start the business and get it off the ground. And I think once you get to a point where you want to take this from a side hustle to an actual business, you got to get some advice with what kind of business you want to set up. I think a lot of people don't realize that business entities and tax entities are two different things. So an LLC can be a corporation, and then they can become an S corporation. They can be a partnership, or they can be a sole proprietor and be reported on your personal tax return. So when you're choosing what kind of business you want to be, that's the first mistake if you don't get advice. Because once you pick something, you're kind of locked in until you decide that you want to be something else and you close the old business. So that's mistake number one, not getting advice as far as how you should set up your business, because it does limit you in the future. And then secondly is not opening up a business account, not opening a business bank account and using your personal account for all your business expenses. If you mix it together, it can cause problems down the road and make it really difficult to even track your expenses and income. So I would say that's the two biggest mistakes that a lot of people make. And then when it comes to having a bookkeeper or a CPA or another financial professional, I think just the advice and the analysis of your financial statements, of how it ties together to taxes, that's where you really need somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because again, you're probably going to get advice from 5 different people, and it's all going to be different. But there are a set of rules, and there's one way to do things for a specific tax entity, and you just need to follow the rules, really.
Well, it's awesome that you said that, because one of the things that you mentioned right there, that's where I completely messed up. I went somewhere, a guy who was a bookkeeper, and he registered me as a corporation. And I was like, okay, but I had no idea what a corporation was. And then, as a business owner, I was a corporation, I believe, an S, or I think it was an S, but I didn't know how to pay me. And he told me I didn't have to pay me, I could just take distributions. So that you're saying that, how often do you see people make that mistake that I made?
Yeah, I think all the time. As far as distributions and owners' draws and payroll, that's where people get like, this is not my expertise. I don't even know what I'm doing. So that's where you really have to find somebody to explain to you how each business pays their owners, because they are different. So yeah, of course.
Yeah, because to me, like when my first company that I started was Molina Insurance Group. I was trained to be an insurance agent. I was trained to sell insurance, to sell. But I was not trained what's the difference between an LLC, a corporation, and they just told me it was protection. That's what they said. But I didn't know that each designation meant I had to pay myself differently, or I had to pay myself in a way. I recall now that one of the mistakes that I made was my accountant, or the person that was doing my taxes at that time, because believe it or not, if there's a way to mess up, I probably already did it. He would just tell me, make the checks to me and I'll make it to the IRS. 2-3 years later, I found out that those checks never went out. So those are some of the things that I've learned. And the reason why I started EN was so we could educate the client a little bit more. In your short term with Estrategias Noroeste, what are some things that you've noticed with the clients that we've had, or things that we're working on?
Yeah, I think some of the impacts of our work, I'm starting to see it when I meet with them. A lot of these clients are saying things like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't meet you guys, because I was completely lost and I wasn't sure how to do things. So I think that's where I find a lot of purpose in the role here, because we can help people and guide them, and like you said, educate them, because that's the most important thing. We don't know how to run businesses. We don't know how to anything in the tax world. So to have somebody that speaks your language and that can help you and that you trust, that's something really great, I think, that we're building here.
So give me a couple of things. So let's say a lot of people here are business owners. They're sitting on an LLC. What I see mostly in common here in our Latino community is LLCs, mostly the ones we see the most, because our uncle, our aunt did it, but they're either an S corp or a partnership. What are some things that you commonly see in a partnership that are wrong, that are obvious, or an S corp that are wrong, that we as business owners really need to look at?
Yeah, I think the S corp election itself, it does save you taxes, but are not in the way that you might think. I think a lot of people don't realize that you do need to put yourself on payroll as the owner, and then the rest of the income that the company makes, it's going to be distributions, or if you don't send it out to yourself, it's already been taxed because it's a flow-through entity. So you can't take that out tax-free, whether you distribute it to yourself or not. So you need to realize that there's two different buckets on how the money from the company gets taxed. And then as far as self-employment goes and payroll taxes, your company is paying the payroll taxes. And then the distributions that go out to you personally, you're also paying self-employment taxes. So there's a lot of great deductions that you can take as business owners, but you need to be careful when you're realizing and comparing what's going to be best for your situation.
And if I'm a business owner, let's say I'm a construction or janitorial, and I'm doing works in Portland, I also have a different tax there, right?
Yeah, Portland has a couple different taxes. Multnomah County has taxes. The Metro County has taxes. And then the transit self-employment tax, it's all three. That's pretty new. So a lot of people don't realize that they need to pay it until they get a notice in the mail that they need to pay it.
So going back to this, what kind of made you go with EN? Because I know that you had probably more people that were working to get you to join forces, because el latino que habla inglés, español, que tenga la licencia del CPA, nobody really sees. What made you choose?
I think a lot of what sold me, obviously you are a great person to speak about the mission and the goals, and then the fact that you started the company, and your mission really is to empower the Latino community and the businesses that you guys have as clients. So I think the mission aligned with me, and it really drove me to want to come here. But yeah, there was other places where I could have gone, but I wouldn't make the same impact that I would here. It would have probably been easier because it's going to be really, it's a lot of work, but I do look forward to it, and I appreciate it.
So, también te dije, me recuerdo que, como lo dije hace minutos, si hay una manera de hacerla mal, yo creo que yo la hice. Entonces, para muchas personas que están escuchando el show, dicen, es que esto lo hicieron mal, eso. Yo acepto todas las cosas que hicimos mal. Tal vez no contestaban las llamadas, no damos bien los pérdidas y ganancias, ¿cómo se llama? Ahora, Estrategias Noroeste, how is it going to be different with you now? What are your goals now of running this business now?
Yeah, my goal is to meet with people in person. I think it's really important to sit with somebody face to face when you're explaining things that are new to them. So face to face meetings in Spanish or English, whichever they prefer. And then when we're sending out the profit and loss, sending them just a quick paragraph of what changed and what they need to look out for. Like if expenses have increased in a certain category, you need to be able to explain to them why and what they can do moving forward. And then as far as like looking ahead, we need to look at your tax impacts now, and maybe we can make estimated payments so that when tax time comes around, you're not hit with a huge tax bill. You can split it up, or maybe you can do something about it and not have to pay taxes before the year's over. So
I don't know if I heard you right, because you were working there outside earlier today, that if somebody's an S-Corp, they should be sending quarterly taxes every quarter? I mean, pay their quarterly taxes, or estimated quarterly, or no?
Really, anybody that's going to owe taxes should be making estimated payments. It's required. But businesses in general, so the business itself isn't the one making estimated payments, it's the individuals. And if you owed more than $600 the prior year, not $600, $1,000, you need to make estimated payments for the next year. And you would need to make estimated payments at least what you paid last year, or 90% of your current tax liability.
So if I owed $600 last year, I'm probably going to owe next year too.
Yeah, so you have to pay at least $600 so that you're not hit with underpayment penalties.
So now that the year's coming to an end, those businesses who don't have someone doing their books or have an accountant, or they do, what are some ways that a company or a business can get ready for the upcoming tax season?
Yeah, if they have not had bookkeeping done, I would encourage them to come in as soon as possible so that we can get their books cleaned up, because once tax season starts, it's very difficult to do anything other than prep tax returns. So I would say try to be proactive if you can. Come in and try to see what your tax liability is going to be, because we can do some projections and then let you know how much you might be paying. That way we can either do something about it, or we can just start making payments and try to prepare you for that.
Okay. And then there are differences in industries, right? How to get ready for taxes. Like a construction is going to be a little bit different than child daycare, than a restaurant, because they have different things that they look at.
Yeah, I think some businesses have different business cycles. So in the holidays, I think a lot of people are going out to eat or they're going to restaurants. So try to prepare yourself for more income at that time of the year, so you might not realize that you're going to maybe make a little more money than you thought you were going to.
So I wanted to thank you for your time today, and I want to thank everybody for listening. If you want to talk to Edgar or you have some questions, please don't forget to send a message or comment, or just we're going to post the phone number here that they can call Estrategias Noroeste to see if they can get an appointment with you. They'll schedule you to this calendar, and we're doing 30 minutes meetings right now, I think. But to get more information, please reach out to us, and thank you for listening to Mostrando la Garra aquí con Molina.
Mostrando la Garra con Molina.